I see a lot of people asking, I want to become a self-employed mortgage advisor. Well, what they don't realize is the difference between the qualification and the real world doing the job. It's so difficult just to become self-employed after getting your qualifications because you need mentoring. Someone has to sign off your advice at 3 stages. So the advice process as a mortgage advisor is KYC, know your client. So the first thing you need to understand is who your client is, and you need to be able to record their information. Once you've recorded their information, you need to be able to source the right relevant mortgage product for your client. And that means understanding everything, the interest rates, the options that are available, the fees, the different lenders, the different criteria. And I can tell you now, after working on thousands of mortgages, no 2 clients are exactly the same. There's always one piece to the puzzle that is very slightly different. So once you've understood your client and you've started to match them to the lender, you're then going to provide them with what's called an illustration. Now that constitutes as advice and recommendation, because you're advising on the interest rate, you're advising on the lender, you're advising on what's most cost effective, you're advising on the fees, and that initial email or that initial email or detail of an illustration that you send to a client has to be checked. So you have to have a mentor who signs that off as good advice, as correct advice, before it goes to the client. Once it is then signed, once that's been signed off and the client's accepted it, they have to email back and accept that that is the one they want to go for. You then submit an agreement in principle to the mortgage lender, where you take all of your KYC information and you upload it to the mortgage lender system to obtain an agreement in principle. So you need to understand the difference between a soft search and a hard search, because you need to advise your client if they're doing a hard search, which could impact on their credit score. Once that has been completed, you're then going to submit an application to the lender. Now, before that application is submitted, again, it has to be checked by the mentor to make sure that that is still relevant, that is still correct, that the information you're submitting to the lender is 100% correct, and that there's no errors or omissions on the data, because disclosure is huge in this industry. Once that's then been agreed by the client and by the mentor and by the client, you can then submit the full application, during which the mortgage lender will require further documentation, bank statements, pay slips, which you would have already collated at the very beginning as part of your KYC. They will require all that information and they will do their assessment. And once you've submitted the application and they begin doing their assessment, you have to do what's called a suitability letter, which is the summary of all the advice that you've given to your client. And that suitability letter, along with everything pre it, has to be checked as a full client journey, the A to Z. And that will actually be checked against the mortgage offer that's been produced. And your KYC has to match your illustration, which has to match your application, which has to match the mortgage offer.